Hey everybody, welcome back to MojiTzu. And for those of you new here, my name is Mojo Perry, and I want to say welcome to everybody from Rumble. That's a new platform I've been uploading to, and so far I like it. There's a lot of creative things that aren't so restricted by Rumble as it is with YouTube. And you can find me there under Mojo Perry. Check it out. It's pretty cool, guys. And I want to say welcome to my subscribers and new subscribers. And those of you who just happened across this video, I hope that you plan on sticking around, subscribing, and hanging out. And with that, I say, let's get going with, yeah, it's true, episode 1. This would be my first full disclosure. I did get a new camera, like I said, in my introductory video, but it's not a Sony R50. It is a Canon R50. And there's a big difference between Canon software and Sony software. And I'm using the kit lens here as opposed to the amazing glass that I have here on my Sony. It's a Sigma 30 mil, maybe 16. I'm not quite sure. But so far, it's a really great lens. And anything else that I use has just kind of been bunk compared to the Sigma, at least on a Sony anyways. And so I learned about the glitches of the Canon R50. The wireless lavalier has a tendency to automatically switch to the onboard microphone of the camera because of inactivity, because I'm adjusting camera, setting white balance on my other camera. So I have to learn to disconnect, reconnect, or set my camera to manually look for audio. In other words, a wireless lav at all times, as opposed to auto. And then I also realized that I wasn't setting my white balance correctly because it's just different compared to how Sony works. So what am I saying? 70% of my B-roll footage that I took for this episode, not that I know anything about editing or creating a multi-scene, multi-camera angle video, let alone a vlog series of videos, is that 70% of my B-roll footage is compromised, either has off-put, white balance, poorly done, inaccurate because I thought I had it, but I didn't, and or audio that was stock as opposed to lavalier. So I'll create art with it one way or the other, and I just want you guys to be entertained. I mean, you do want to be entertained, don't you? Well, that's good because I'm an entertainer. Imagine that. So let's rock and roll this episode. Now, the first thing I did coming out of the gate was realize today, that my biopsy is tomorrow. That's right. Today is March 17th. Tomorrow is the 18th. I have time to get one good meal in before I got to stop eating tonight. So I'll probably make spaghetti because that's gentle on my stomach. And raviolis, cheese raviolis. And then I have to go and find out what the verdict is. And I wanted to do this video before that because, for starters, I am a little uptight about the situation. There's a lot of stuff hanging in the balance, right? Like I could, in fact, quite possibly find out that I have months to live, for all I know. Pancreatic cancer or damage, anything is just bad. So I have to take into consideration, that even the good news is still going to be bad. Like if they tell me it's not cancer, well, I still have a mass on my pancreas, right? And that's not a good thing in itself. So, I have to be very careful with things, and I suffer if I eat. And thank God for pain medication, right? So that's been really helpful. And so I just wanted to get a video in to let you guys know that I'm in good spirits. I have been able to get much more sleep because I've gotten some good pain medication. I have been able to get more food down my gullet, which all of this stuff means what? Nutrients and sleep, which is energy and resources for my body to do things to heal. And since I've been able to get some more sleep and get some more food, wouldn't you know it, I've noticed other things in my life improving because I'm able to feed my body what it needs. So that's a huge deal and a huge obstacle. And not only that, the response I've gotten from the general public has just been mind blowing, man. Just mind blowing. So many people, like survivors, telling me I was given X amount of time, I'm still here, and then sharing me ideas and things. And most of all, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. Not only that, I heard from the people that I've been interviewing with, right? I do talking about addiction and recovery. I go on their podcasts and I interview and stuff like that. Those people have been reaching out to say, hey, I'm sorry that this is going on. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here for you. And I want you to know I'm keeping you in my prayers. So, and then not to mention, I mean, this is a big deal because to me, like I've always kept up try to be realistic with some of these people that I've opened up for and worked with over the years. You get to know people, you see them enough times, they ask questions, you exchange numbers and stuff. And some of these people have reached out to me, and I just thought that they were just professional, acquaintances, relationships that I had professionally. And then come to find out that they had really wonderful things to share because I touched their life in some way and they shared that with me. That just, I can't tell you what that feels like. And then, of course, people who care enough to share suggestions that they've seen with their family members and stuff like that, ivermectin or whatever it is. I can't tell you how many people talk to me about that stuff. And I suppose that if I was really super sick and I know that I was dying, it wouldn't hurt to throw a little bit of voodoo at it. So, I'll cross whatever bridges after I know exactly what I'm dealing with. And so many people who had things to share, like this is probably the most common thing that I heard out of all the emails was something to the effect of, what a kick to the nuts to get news like this after you did all that work to turn yourself around and clean up off of drugs. And I got to admit with you that for a couple of days there, that really struck a sour nerve too. But guess what? On that third day, I woke up, I had a whole new attitude. I was tired of being down and everything, and I just wasn't going to pity party and all this other stuff. And I decided that I was going to get busy living. And I'm not dead yet. Just, and just because I get this information doesn't mean I'm going to die anytime soon. So wait until I hear and then go from that, not my fears today. And so it was very liberating, really, to realize that, I have power over how I address all these things and so forth. And so a lot of people ask if I will be, if when I go through this vlog, will I be playing music and stuff? And I plan on doing it. But one of the problems that I have as a creative, that if I'm not feeling good, like physically, like I have the flu or I'm physically sick, it's really difficult to get me to do anything creative. And I've been feeling so bad that I haven't even sat down with a brand new video game that I bought before I got sick, before all this came to light, anyways. And one that I've been anticipating for a half a year at least. And, I got maybe a half a day on it between all that time. And that's just, I'm home so much. I'm not in my studio. I'm not playing a game. I'm not creating with my camera, whatever. I'm suffering is what I'm doing. So, uh, and, but generally speaking, it's just been really awesome. I even was asked out by a few people, which I thought was pretty humbling, because I did say that I was going to try to date more and all this other stuff. And so it was pretty cool to have all that. And then there's some folks have been with me a really long time. And so I hear from them directly, pick up the red phone straight to the man's desk type stuff. And so as a person who elected to be estranged from his family, like I walked away from my family a number of years ago, and I became very outspoken with it after some things happened during my mom's funeral. And my siblings, who are my half siblings, and I have one full blood brother, traditionally, they don't ever look to themselves to see what they're saying or doing that could possibly, hurt another person to make them go away. They're never wrong, and they decide, what the rules are, and they don't care. And in my family, there's been people who have been on the receiving end of their focus of their crap, right? Their control, their mind games and stuff like that. And it hasn't ended too well for people, and they just think that the outcome validates what they've always felt about somebody, but they never take into consideration that what they were doing was helping people become what they wanted them to be. So they can say, see, I told you, tripping people so they can go, see, I told you, wanting people to fail so they could, I mean, it just has been enough for me to walk away. And they've been so resentful about it, but they have never asked, well, why would Mojo walk away from us? Why would anybody walk away from their family? And why would anybody like try to stay no contact as much as possible? That's because they're doing things that are bad and they don't realize it. And when people don't you take the time to consider input from someone else, it makes them dangerous, right? Because they hurt people and they don't care. And then when they mess up and they go too far, usually you hear those famous 7 words, well, how was I supposed to know? But they just caused all these problems, created all this hurt, took part in doing all this stuff, and they never should have did it in the first place. They did it because there's something wrong with them. And so I've elected to stay away from them. And so there's a lot of people who had asked, because I had mentioned I wasn't going to tell my family. But I can tell you, even though I haven't told my family, I guarantee you they know. Why? Because they're the type of folks that just pay attention. And that should explain a lot right there. I'm 55 and I traditionally stay away from them. And every time I allow them around, I realize that I shouldn't have trusted them. I shouldn't have had faith that they had the right things in mind. And, and it's easy for them because they just blame the victim and go on, very narcissistic in general. So, but I'm not the one that has to live with myself for those actions. I just have to protect myself from them. And I've been doing the best that I can, ever since. So in general, all this public outpouring and support from my friends, everything has been so amazing that in place of my family, it's been really nice that I have the family I've had this whole time. In fact, last night, my adopted sister, Michelle, we have long history, Michelle and I do. And I've always stood in her corner. I've always known her to be just a truly special person. I've been proud to have her as a sister. And she noticed that I was up last night because I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't sleeping. So I was on social media just reading and whatnot. So she sent me a message that, if you are up, and you want to talk, I'm here for you. So I wound up having a 90-minute talk with my sister in the middle of the night while I was struggling with serious pain and stuff, and the things that she shared and stuff. So all of this has been so heartwarming and touching that I don't feel alone. I don't feel like I'm in the dark. I don't feel like I have nobody in my corner, because that's just not true. I have lots of people in my corner, and lots of people care about me. And I even, like I said, I got asked out a few times. I have people who have, found me romantically attractive, which just is amazing to me right now, especially right now. And so the other thing, there's a lot of stuff that came through the emails. So I'm trying to get the more important ones. Uh, I think I touched on, it's hard to tell because I've done this, take a stab at doing this episode, so many times now that it's hard to remember what I talked about or didn't. But one of the things that came up quite regularly was that what a kick to the nuts after everything that you did to turn yourself around. I agree. It's kind of sucky. It is disappointing for sure. But I didn't clean up with the idea I'd have a guarantee of anything in my life, right? I did so because it was the right thing to do. And I had cleaned up the medical stuff that was causing me pain at the time. So there was no need for me to remain going the path that I had been on for 26 years. So I stopped. I got help and I went into recovery. Now, recovery is a very interesting thing, especially when you have to deal with pain management issues. Because a lot of addicts and a lot of people in recovery, even long term recovery like me, I have 11 years, going on 11 years, blemish free, and I still ran into stigmas and biases and just flat out discrimination. There was no reason for my doctor to ignore important information that my addiction doctor sent to him to communicate what my maintenance level was and that he needs to address as we do this pain stuff. My doctor ignored it and I went into full physical withdrawal because of it. And I had to remain calm in how I communicate with him. Otherwise, it's like, oh, see, I knew you must be struggling. And there are people out there who that's just what they feel. It's due to lack of education. Usually there's some type of personal experience somewhere that they don't realize they need to deal with this in some way. And then they, like my doctor, heard me complaining since January 6th. And based on other behaviors, I can't help but wonder if he just didn't think I was trying to get my hands on pain pills, which is no reason for him to do any of that. Zero. Like there is nothing on my record anywhere between 2014 and now. And even before then, I didn't go through doctors or abuse pharmacies. So he has nothing. And it's just nothing more than he has a general lack of knowledge, and I'm starting to feel that maybe there's some type of trauma experience of his own to where he just doesn't do anything. And there, I was left in the dark. And even when I brought up about the letter that my addiction doctor wrote, my family doctor got pissy and told me to go to him to write my pain pills, that there was nothing stopping him. Now, he's not a medical doctor, he's an addiction doctor. There's a difference, right? And so my doctor was so pissy that was his answer to that letter, because it was input from someone else and he took offense to it because he's arrogant and, he's a good doctor. Don't get me wrong. We all have our quirks, but everything he was doing was leaving someone that he should be taking care of misjudged and in pain based on that misjudgment. And that's not acceptable in 2025. And the amount of times that he's been called out on this stuff, he should know better at this juncture. But it's also that I'll do whatever I want. I'm the doctor and you're the patient. And if you need this help with pain medication, well, then you better be nice to me. I wouldn't go as far as to say he was doing that, but I would assure that it's somewhere in the back of his head that he's the shot caller. So I finally got help. He threw something a little more aggressive at it, and I was able to get more sleep, more eat. So everything improved because of that. And I would have to say that I have less days where I struggled that badly because I was able to keep things down and to get sleep and to stay asleep for longer than just a half hour. And so realistically, with this procedure coming up tomorrow, that's the big thing in my book, making sure that I have all my end of life things kind of somewhat in order, because we are dealing with my pancreas. So it could mean anything tomorrow, the end result. And they could get in there and find out that I'm far worse off than I really think. And, it could be anything. And so what I've decided is that I'm just going to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And I'm no longer carrying anger and hatred in my heart for anybody that's wronged me anymore. So I'm just applying my energy and stuff towards the positive people in my life that deserve it and share whatever time I have left with the people that are important to me. And who knows, maybe I'll I'll take up one of these dates and go. And all that said and done, I want to keep this a little bit shorter, even though 7 minutes is 7 minutes, shorter, anyways. I just want to thank you guys for subscribing and remember that share your thoughts and views at any time through here. I do try to keep everything nice for everybody. So whatever the trolls do, who knows what inspires those folks? But I think that must be narcissist farts or whatever trolls. I don't know. How would I? So with that, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I will see you guys after the biopsy, and I have some type of verdict. And I'm excited to share the news with you, and even more excited to share, hopefully that I'm going to have some type of treatment so that maybe this pain stuff will stop. Maybe that I'll have, get my life back. That'd be awesome. But we'll wait for that one day at a time, I guess. And that said and done, thank you for hanging out. Please, please, please have my love with you anywhere that you are. And remember that I don't just love you, but Zumi loves you too. And remember, folks, that life is short. Tell the people who are important to you that you love them. And let any beef that you have with someone go, because it's just not worth it. And people who do things like that to hurt you, scum is as scum does, right? So if you don't need it, keep them out of your life. And I will see you guys after the procedure. Bye.